welcome to On Leading with Greatness. I'm Jim Salvucci of Guidance for Greatness. This week's installment, Doctor begs bosses to stop doing this one thing. Are you ready for a shocking revelation that could save your business and improve the well-being of everyone around you? Well, brace yourself, because what I'm about to expose may upset you. If you're a clear thinker who values candor, keep reading and heed every word. Your company's and your own future may depend on it. But if you're a manager with a fragile ego, living in a cocoon of self-serving fantasy and lies, stop now. You may not have the strength to handle what I'm about to reveal. Also, any employees out there traumatized by toxic bosses, consider this your trigger warning. Still with me? Good. Now you won't believe what happened next. Meet Pam, a bright-eyed new lawyer ready to take on the legal world as a public defender in the Big Apple. She was so eager to get going, she thought she'd burst. But on her very first day of training, disaster struck. The stress of being an experienced trial attorney can be overwhelming. The stress of being a brand new trial attorney is enough to break the toughest of the tough. The stress of being a new public defender in the heart of America's largest city is off the scale. On that first day, Pam met Judy, a senior supervisor in charge of training the newbies to be crackerjack litigators. Judy started amiably enough by going around the packed room and asking them to introduce themselves in a few sentences. When it was Pam's turn, just like several others, she stammered nervously. Judy thanked her and then dropped this bombshell. "You know, you'll never make it as a trial attorney with that voice," she scoffed. "You sound like a silly little girl." The room burst into laughter. Pam sat down, her face burning with humiliation. You see, Pam had long been self-conscious about her high-pitched voice, which jumped higher still when she got nervous. In high school, classmates called her Minnie, after Minnie Mouse. She used to dread hearing her squeaky voice, so she spoke as little as possible back then. Pam worked hard to overcome her embarrassment and to learn to speak up. In law school, she became a top performer despite her voice. Now, Judy, her supposed mentor, was dredging up that self-doubt all over again. What happened next will shock you. Pam tried to forget Judy's cruelty and soldier on, but Judy's words kept coming back whenever she opened her mouth in court. Her confidence had been shattered, and along with it, her passion. She lost winnable cases and was horrified that her timidity and lack of resolve may have landed innocent people in jail. Finally, haunted by her failure, she abandoned her dreams of being a heroic defender of the U.S. Constitution. With New York City in her rearview mirror, she returned to her tiny hometown to work for a small firm handling contracts. She never entered a courtroom again, all due to one inconsiderate comment from her boss. Whose fault is it? Maybe you're thinking that Pam should have been tougher, that she could have stood up to Judy, just ignored her, or repurposed Judy's insult as motivation. "I'll show her." But that's not how the mind works. Even the strongest among us can be wounded in a moment of susceptibility. Pam was already anxious and insecure on her first day, so Judy's public jab penetrated more deeply than it may have even the very next day. Now, the real question is, what was the point of Judy saying anything about Pam's voice at all? Did she hope to light a fire under Pam? If so, she failed spectacularly. Or did denigrating an underling just make Judy feel powerful? Frankly, her motivations don't matter at all, only her actions. Judy's actions are an example of a terrifying epidemic that's sweeping through management ranks around the world, an epidemic that's costing companies billions and destroying lives. It's not a physical ailment, though. As a doctor, not the medical kind, I've studied this condition for years, and let me tell you that it's more widespread than you can imagine. Judy had it, every toxic boss you have ever met had it, and you may even have it. It's called ego inflammation, better known as EI or bossitis. EI afflicts virtually every boss on the planet to some extent or other. For some, it presents as a momentary flare-up. The boss rips into employees when stressed. But for most bosses, it's a chronic condition. It's just the way they are. Bossitis swells their ego to the point where it envelops them entirely, insulating them from relationships, reality, and duty. They thus become entitled and are worse than useless. They're actively harmful to their employees and organizations. Sound familiar? You might be suffering from EI right now without even realizing it. Your toxic boss certainly is. Still with me? EI or bossitis is pervasive, epidemic, pandemic even. It's virulent and destructive. But here's the good news. There's hope. I've discovered one simple trick that can cure even the most advanced cases of bossitis. It's so simple, really, that it seems too good to be true, but hear me out. Bosses with EI fixate on superficial quirks and ignore what their employees can, or actually do. Their potential and performance. That's why Judy failed as a supervisor and why Pam ended up shuffling paper in Nowheresville. It's laziness, really. It's easier to measure meaningless inputs, hours worked, meetings attended, a strong voice, a firm handshake, rather than output, actual results achieved. It's like judging a car's mileage solely on how much gas fits into the tank without considering how far the car goes. You see, one of the symptoms of EI is the urge to snatch at low-hanging fruit and seek instant gratification. This leads bosses to praise unproductive workaholics while overlooking the efficient achievers who get real results. The good news is that curing bossitis can instantly turn even the most toxic boss into a true leader who's trusted by loyal employees. It can alleviate stress, boost productivity, and reverse turnover. Curing EI can send profits soaring. Are you ready for that one simple trick? Here it is. The secret? If you're a boss and fear you're suffering from bossitis, stop treating employees like playthings for your ego. Stop belittling employees. Stop micromanaging. Stop acting like you own them. Stop acting like a boss. Just stop. Instead, focus on leading and getting to the results you previously only dreamed of. I know, it sounds too simple to be true, but that's all there is to it. Just imagine such a workplace free from the harmful effects of EI, where employees are judged on their actual contributions to the team, not arbitrary metrics or personal attributes, where innovation flourishes because everyone feels valued and empowered. It's not just a pipe dream. I've seen it happen in companies headed by actual leaders rather than bosses. But don't take my word for it. Try it yourself and watch your business transform before your eyes. Not convinced? Remember Pam? Her story didn't have to be a tragedy. With an EI-free boss, she could have easily become a legendary courtroom defender, doing justice and sparing the innocent. Let me ask you, how many Pams are in your organization right now? Their potential stifled by bossitis-infected managers. Maybe you've been a Pam yourself. As a supervisor, will you allow your ego to swell uncontrollably? Will you let bossitis infect you and your organization? Or will you help defeat EI and embrace the cure? Your choice. Remember, curing EI is the first step toward becoming a truly great leader. The fate of your company, the lives of your employees, and your own well-being hang in the balance. Defeat EI, stop being a boss to become a leader, and watch as you, your team, and your business reap the benefits. How many times have you seen a boss gratuitously belittle an employee? How often do the results benefit the organization? Leaders, as opposed to bosses, must let go of the idea that employees are there for their amusement, and I can help. Unlock the great leader within. Download my free resource, the Transform to Greatness Toolkit, now at www.thegreatleadershiptoolkit.com. I look forward to hearing from you.